I've trained thousands of painting contractors how to estimate paint jobs. I currently run a portfolio of painting companies that does over $30 million a year, and I'm a business coach to hundreds of painting contractors across the country and even internationally. In this video, I'm gonna break down the fundamentals to estimating paint jobs so you get consistent, accurate prices that are both competitive and profitable. Estimating is a critical piece to building your business, and this is the framework to get it right so you can scale. So let's dive in. Before we get into how to estimate paint jobs, I gotta tell you the number one mistake that most painting contractors make when estimating and pricing paint jobs, and it is this. Many painting contractors out there use their price to win the job. So if they're not winning jobs and customers say your price is too high, they lower their price. Or you do a quote and the customer says, oh, can you do it for less? And you lower the price. So if I'm using my price to try to win the job, I'm making my first mistake. It's the job of your sales process to win the job. If you can't win the job at the proper price, you got to improve sales, not lower your price. The job of estimating in your business is to come up with a price that is accurate, so you get the same price every time, and it's nice and consistent. It's profitable, so you can not only make money now, but you're pricing yourself so you can make money in the future as your business grows, and that you're competitive. So we don't want to be way too high, but we also don't want to be way too low. And the biggest mistake people make is they lower their price to win jobs, and then they don't have enough profit margin to actually build and grow their business, and they get trapped in what I call the vicious cycle, where they can't grow the business because they don't have enough profit to. So the goal of estimating, and the point of estimating, is to get the proper price for you to be able to grow and scale your business. So now let's dive into what that looks like. Estimating painting projects can be broken down into one simple formula. It's labor cost plus material cost, and we would call this your total cost. This is your cost of goods sold times your markup equals your price. So now let's just break this down a little bit more. All right, so how we come up with our labor cost. This is simply the hours we estimate for the project times the hourly rate. So for example, if we bid a job for 25 hours and we say it's 20 bucks an hour, that means our labor cost would be $500. What a lot of people get hung up on here is like this $20 per hour thing. So oftentimes in my examples, I use $20 per hour, and a lot of people say, Eric, you can't get anyone good for $20 an hour. And what I say is, this is how I'm estimating the job, not what I'm actually paying people. So let me give you an example of that. So if I say a door trim, and I say that's gonna be 1 hour, if I go ask any good painter, say, hey, how long would it take you to paint a door trim? A good painter is gonna say something like 20 minutes. But I'm bidding it for 1 hour times 20 an hour. So I'm bidding to pay $20 for that door trim, but if a good painter does it in 20 minutes, then they're technically making $60 an hour. Okay, so how we bid and how we pay are two different things. So that's fundamentally how we get our labor costs, is we're gonna have a measurement-based estimating system to come up with how many hours the house is gonna be. Once we know how many hours the house is gonna be, we multiply it by some hourly rate and we get our labor cost. How do we get our material cost? Well, the material cost is really simple. It's the number of gallons times the cost per gallon. So if you estimate the project is gonna be 20 gallons of paint, and paint is $40 a gallon, that's gonna be $800 for the material cost. So in this example, we take our labor plus material cost, we say 500 plus 800 equals $1,300, and that's our total cost. From there, we need to mark it up, because this is what it's gonna cost us to do the job. Now, if you wanna build a healthy painting company and you wanna build a large painting company, you need to be at 50% cost of goods sold. So what that means is we need to double this price. So I'm gonna take this, I'm gonna multiply it by 2, and my price for this project is gonna be $2,600. So that's literally the estimating formula. That's how we come up with every price for every paint job we ever do. We come up with our labor cost, which is hours times an hourly rate. We come up with our material cost, which is the number of gallons times the price per gallon, and then we mark it up to make sure that we have enough margin to actually build and scale our business. Now, where this gets the most complicated is when we start estimating the hours. Gallons is pretty straightforward because the paint store is gonna tell you how much coverage a gallon of paint is going to be, so it's pretty easy to come up with how many gallons it's going to be, but the hours is going to be the trickier one, and we're going to talk in a minute later in this video about how we come up with a measurement-based estimating system to predict the hours that are going to be on a project. So if you want to build and scale a successful painting business, you need to set things up the right way, and the first goal of estimating is to build a measurement-based estimating system. What that means is that I can go into a house and I can simply measure how big are the walls, how many feet of trim are there, count the windows, count the doors, I can measure the fascia, and I can determine, based on measurement, how many hours the job is gonna take. So we basically take all of our measurements, we plug those in to some kind of software or equations, and then it spits out our hours, which ultimately spits out our price. Okay, so the first goal of building your estimating system is to create a measurement-based estimating system. And there's a number of different ways you can do this. I'm gonna give you 3 ways that you can do this. The first thing you can do is you can hit the link in the description of this video and you can go download a pretty basic estimating system from us at Painting Business Pro. It's free. It's what I used to estimate paint jobs until we were doing like $3.5 million a year. The second thing you can do is you can go out and find an estimating software. All right, so there's the one we recommend most is Paint Scout. They're the ones that we use at our portfolio where we do $35 million a year. They're the ones I recommend to most of my members is the Paint Scout estimating software. It's gonna be exactly what we're talking about here. It's a measurement-based estimating system. And then the third option is if you wanna get really deep into this, we also have a coaching program where we work with painting contractors to help you integrate our pricing into Paint Scout, or we give you some estimating spreadsheets that you can use that are already integrated and updated with our prices. So the option here to set up your measurement-based estimating system is don't try to build this on your own. We originally built a spreadsheet. It took hundreds of hours for us to build our spreadsheet to get this done. There's literally software you can buy for $100 a month or so that can just get this done for you. Now that we have a measurement-based estimating system in place, the second goal of estimating is you need to adjust for your market. So every market in the country is going to be a little bit different. And the main thing that's going to be different is not how long something takes to paint, right? A door trim takes the same amount of time to paint in Colorado as it does in California, as it does in Montana, as it does in New York. So it's not how long things take, and it's not how many gallons it takes to cover. The main thing that's going to change is your hourly rate for labor and your cost per gallon. And so we want to look at both of those things. Your cost per gallon is mostly going to change based on the deal that you have negotiated with your supplier. But it's really simple because once you know your cost per gallon, you just plug it in. So there's nothing we really need to adjust for there because that's negotiated with your supplier, whether it's Benjamin Moore, Home Depot, Valspar, PPG, Sherwin-Williams, you name it, they set your price per gallon. So the only thing that we ever really need to adjust is we need to adjust this hourly rate. And the hourly rate doesn't change that much across the country. So if I'm using a base in this example of $20 per hour, there might be some places where it's 10% less, like a 10% lower labor rate, which would be 18 per hour. Or there might be some parts of the country where it's like 40% more, where it might be up to $28 per hour. The name of the game is to tweak that one number in this formula until we achieve this 50% margin. So the way that you do that is through simple trial and error. So first we start and we put together this measurement-based estimating system, and we can use $20 an hour, and we can come up with this to come up with our pricing. And remember, we're not paying 20 an hour, we're bidding 20 an hour. So once we have the measurement-based estimating system in place, then we're gonna start painting houses and doing jobs. And if I'm not making my 50% profit margin, I probably need to raise my price. And the way I raise my price is I increase my hourly rate by like $2 and see if that fixes it, and then $2 more. And after, 2, 3, 4 months, we can get our prices pretty dialed in where 90% of the time we're making our 50% profit margin, which is what we need. Now that we have a measurement-based estimating system in place that gets consistent, accurate, profitable prices, we can use our marketing and sales processes to acquire customers and win those jobs without changing our price, because you can't scale a business if you don't charge the proper amount of money to be able to scale your business. So that's the fundamental framework for how you come up with prices in your painting business and estimate paint jobs. If you want to go deeper into how to price interior paint jobs, or you want to price exterior paint jobs, we'll get into the specifics on how you can start estimating those projects in the videos somewhere on the screen, so you can click there. Hope you enjoyed the video. If you got any questions, drop a comment and I'll respond.